나만 좀 fukubolka. 나만 좀 fukubola.
Okay, thank you for joining for tonight. It is a very auspicious day in our life, in our life, and so today is really the New Year. Also, the days also the purification rituals happening in Nepal. Very auspicious days in the New Year history. So this is really important for the New Year. So we have so wonderful to have a Daya Ratna Sake, who is the seniors on this. Also, wrote many book and publishing the generals and many articles. It's written and very activist in the Newar communities in Newar society in Nepal, Americas, and all different part of the world. He's been working with this Newar for his lifetime, spending with the Newar cultures and arts. So, and we have so how wonderful to have in a Nityamangal Mahavyara. To give a life and just to give people to understanding how important about the Newar cultures, Newar art, Newar religious, all it part. So I just give floor to the Daya to continues and for this evening. So.
Namaste, good evening, good morning in some part of the world, and also good morning. So today I'm very humbled to be a part of this program. I am speaking from Portland, Oregon, where the Nityamangal Mahavyara exists. Right now the time is 6 o'clock and 36 minutes past in the evening time. So I'm very happy to be part of you, and then do the presentation on what is the New Year in our culture. So definitely you haven't heard maybe before why the New Year needs to be mentioned over here, because the coincidence of New Year today is the last day of 1141 is today is the last day. So we are in the western side of the earth, or western side of the world. So we are still celebrating 1141. But right now, when the sun rises in Nepal side, so it's already became the 1142. So that means the people in Nepal, everywhere, that side of the world, is celebrating the New Year, and especially this is the New Year for the Newar people. So I don't want to say this is for the only Newar people, but the people of Nepal celebrating the New Year, which we call the Nepal Sambat. So the word Sambat is an era. So era, or maybe other way around in a local language, you can say the calendar. So Nepal Sambat 1142. I would like to say Happy New Year to all of you, and thank you for joining to my lecture over here. So I will take you only 45 minutes. So within 45 minutes, I give you some historical background, why it is important to us, and then how we started celebrating in a public area. And there is some political things also come together, because it was the suppressed calendar in the past. And then now from Nepal in the Kathmandu Valley, it was spread out, celebrating beyond Kathmandu and all over Nepal. And it was transported to another country out of Nepal. The first it came to United States in 1991. Since that time, we have been celebrating this Nepal Sambat New Year. So, when we talk about the calendar always begins with the New Year, and then the end the day before the New Year, right? Same way, this Nepal Sambat calendar does not based on the solar system, solar calendar, but it's based on the lunar calendar. So when I say lunar calendar, sometimes in this calendar, what happens actually, let me share some pictures. Okay, I'm practicing. So the picture in front of me in my Facebook wall, It's the same picture what I'm showing in this the screen sharing. The Nepal sambat started in Nepal when there was a small country, just like not a big Nepal like today. But at the time, there was only Kathmandu Valley these days has a 12 districts. So the 12 districts altogether right now used to be only Nepal at the time. So since the 67, at the time, Nepal was extended to current Nepal. So now you can see in the world map of Nepal, it was extended from east to west, is the long one. And in the middle one, you see only the valley. So the valley right now, what we call is the Kathmandu Valley. It has three districts, Kantipur, Bhaktapur, Lalitpur. And then the extended areas of the three districts was also used to be called the Nepal Mandala at the time. So during that Nepal Mandala, so the Bhaktapur, the current Bhaktapur was famous, so different ways, like a Newar civilization and Newar settlements, Newar economy and everything. It was so much well known at the time. So that means below the Himalayan region, Nepal Mandala was so well known to have the trade link in between India at the time, India and Tibet and China and Mongolia. So that's why Nepal was well-established, civilized city of at the time of the Himalayan region. So now after 1767, so the Nepal Mandala was invaded by another kingdom from the western side of Nepal, so who ruled for many, many years until 2008. Recently, that 11th generation of that king from that area ruled Nepal. And for the 104 years, it was liberated in 1951, actually 1950. So until 1950, what happened? The Ranas of Nepal, or one of the prime ministership, they used to call the Ranas the prime minister, and they ruled for 104 years. So during that 104 years of time, the whole civilization was under their control. It used to be only under whatever they say, and that kind of things happen. So we're talking about Nepal somewhat 1141 years ago. How it started. Before that, Nepal Sambat was not there. There was another kind of a calendar used to be used called the Shak Sambat. Shak Sambala, it used to be common in the whole continent at the time. So one of the king from Bhaktapur region at the time, he was advised by an astrologer of that time, and then said that there is some auspicious occasion is coming up. And if you send the people to dig out some sand from the river, that particular joint intersection of the two river, there will be some chances of that sand will turn into gold. It was mathematically calculated, and then somehow secretly, without telling anybody, the king sent 3 porters to get all those sand. But somehow the porters even the king did not tell the porters why the king is asking to take the sand from that particular place on that occasion. And it has to be certain time and certain day and certain hours and certain minute, all these things. But the porters were kind of wondering why the king is asking me to take the sand from that particular place. They were kind of wondering. So, and they took whatever the load they can take with them. So took the sand from that river at the time. And then while coming back to the palace, and then one of the merchants saw them taking the sand from that river without knowing anything, whether it is going to be different or the same sand. So the merchant, I'm showing the picture, he's the merchant. So he was the merchant at the time. His name is Shankar Dhara Sakwa, Shankar, and then Sakwala. So that was the legendary figure in the celebration of Nepal Samba. So the sand carrier, 3 porters of sand carrier, and the merchant Shankar Dhara saw them taking the sand back to the palace. And then he needed some sand. The merchant needed some sand. So he just convinced them, why didn't you give that sand to me? I give you some money. And then for the palace, take the another batch from there. You get some money and you can also get the sand for the palace. Because the porter did not know whether the sand will be very auspicious or not auspicious. He didn't know that. They did not know that. So that's why, okay, no problems. We get some money and then you get the sand. So we take another load from the river and then take to the palace. That's how it happened. And then usually what happens, so the sand was dropped off to the Sankadar Sakwa's place. And then another batch of the sand were taken from the same river side and took to the palace. But whereas according to the astrologer, what the king was told at the time, and then the sand did not turn into any kind of other object like a gold or something. So the king was very upset. And then what happened, astrologer was punished. Your calculation turned out completely wrong. So it's nothing happened. Why are you saying that kind of calculation wrong? So that's why he was punished. And I think in the history, what is being told that probably he got a suicide or maybe he was killed. Nobody has any like a proof that whether he was killed or that suicide by himself. But few days later, or maybe a week or a month, so somehow it happened. The news was spread out. Hey, the Sankada Sakwa bought some sand, and that sand is kind of a shiny. And it turned into something different kind of a metal. That metal is very, very shiny. So that sand turned into gold. So that was the occasion that the sand turned into gold, and it was informed to the palace. And then somehow all those porters who took the sand, and they were kind of got the punishment. But now, because the first batch of sand who taken from the palace, from the river, was not belong to the palace, because the merchant Sangadhara have already paid, and then now it belongs to, according to the rules of the policy. So even the king is not allowed to take the sand back to them because it's been already sold, and then that is his property now. So that's why this merchant became rich, and then he wanted to do something for the people. So he paid off the entire countries and entire populations in a debt, paying debt. So debt was paid off. So debt was paid off to the entire population of the whole country. And then on that day, it was celebrated like a free from debt kind of a celebrations. So that's how it was started in like a celebration of and liberation of debt to the whole entire people. Now, the reason why it became, because the whole entire people of Nepal was free from debt, and because of his dedication to make the people free, that even the calendar was named in the Nepal sambat. So not like Sankadhar sambat, not like a king, the name is given there, but the Nepal sambat, because the entire population of the whole country became free from the debt. So from that time, we started celebrating the Nepal Sambat on the day, and today is the day actually in Nepal. So how the calculation is done, I'm going to show some picture. So nobody knows what is the actual picture of Sankadhar, whether it looks this way or this way. So somebody imagine when he was a merchant, this is the kind of like an ancient type of merchant people. When the people do the business with the Tibet or with the India, and then we don't have any picture, any kind of a picture of that person. So some people imagine like this, because the name Sankadhar, Sankha is the conch, holding like a conch. He's been holding the conch. So that's why the Sankha was given to this picture. And then in the other picture, so he was like a merchant. So that's why we have no clue whether these two figures are actually the Sankadhar, or maybe it was kind of like an imaginary figure. So we have no idea. There is no any proof on that. So most of the time, the calendar is being used in Nepal. This is called the patro, and we call patro means the calendar. So calendar, we don't put the calendar in a wall, but we have a calendar carrying like this. So this calendar is used for any kind of auspicious, like a solar, any kind of a solar activities we can figure out from here. So like what day needs to be done for going to school, and what day needs to pick the date for digging the new building, digging out for the foundation of the building, and also doing the puja. Any kind of a auspicious day needs to be calculated from the calendar. So this is a very auspicious for in the Newark tradition, that without consulting an astrologer, we don't do any kind of thing. Just like feeding a baby, new rice feeding, or maybe getting married, or for the Bura Jongpo, or like your senior age in a ceremony. Any kind of activity we do without consulting, we don't go further away. So we just don't pick up that. But now that tradition in Portland is different, because we are busy during the day. So today is the Thursday, and this is the weekdays. So weekday is not possible because of the work schedule. So we do some of the occasion put back to like a weekend, Saturday or Sunday. So that's how it happened. But actually in our tradition, it doesn't matter whether it is a weekend or the weekdays. So when the day turn out, you have to do on that day. And also the specific time, whether it is in the morning 10 o'clock or maybe in the evening 6 o'clock. So when the astrologer give an exact time, that exact time we have to follow and then get the auspicious blessing from the occasion. And these things are calculated like this. So these are all the astrological chart is like given over here. So definitely we will figure out how to read and where the sun belongs to, where the moon belongs to, where the Jupiter, and then where the Mars, and when all these things are calculated according to the astrological chart. So now comes a little bit historical thing. So it was started in 1100 and right now is 1141. But because of the political scenario, and that calendar was used until 1903 by the Rana Prime Minister Chandra Samsera. So until that Chandra Samsera, the calendar of that Nepal Samba was used as official calendar in Nepal. So the Chandra Samsera kind of had a different kind of idea, because every once in a while in 3 years, this calendar, Nepal summer calendar, give the 13 months in 1 year, not 12 months. Every 3 years we have a 1 month extra, but sometimes we have a date. So the calculation of the time goes like this. So it starts from the dark moon and then end on the full moon. So then the dark moon side, we have a like a Pala and the To and then Ga. So these are the two words, the two phrases are given for the first half of 15 days and then the second half of the 15 days of a whole month. So from starting from the dark moon first day, full like a beginning of the moon, and then the full moon, and then descending and go into again dark moon. So these kind of calculation can be done according to the Nepal Samba. But the other calendars, just like in Western calendar, we have a January 31, February, sometimes leap year, we have a 28, sometimes 29. So every 4 year, this calendar has a 1 day extra in February. But according to Nepal summer calendar, what happens actually, it based on the movement of moon, movement of sun, movement of earth, and also the rise of the sun on that particular day. So when the sun and earth come closer, and then it is sometimes not visible to have the sunrise. So that day, there is some kind of a less hours of looking at the same day. So that's how it is being calculated, as sometimes we have a first day, second day, third day, fourth day, fifth day. And the fifth day is also considered as a 2 days sometimes. And the 6th day and the 5th day is just come into the 1 day. So this kind of a calculation is sometimes people say that it's not scientific, so it's not practicable for the administration. All these things happen. But now, until that time, the Prime Minister Chandra Samsera, what happened actually, he was clever enough to not to give a salary of the 13 months. So every once in a while, we have a 13 months of calendar, 13 months of the year. So on that particular year, what happened actually, instead of giving the public people, serving people 13 days salary, 13 months salary. So he kind of like became clever and then calculated, not using the Nepal sambat, but he brought into Nepal like another calendar that is called Bikram Sambat. So the Bikram Sambat calendar, we see that now I'm showing you, this is the Bikram Sambat calendar. This calendar is from 2073, and then this is what I have right now with me, but right now is 2078. So this belongs to almost like 5 years old. So this calendar was brought in by Chandra Samsera, Prime Minister, and it calendar goes only 12 months, never becomes 13 months. So on that day, on that year, what happened actually, he saved the revenue of the government revenue a whole month and put in his pocket. So that's what the people say, that because of saving the money from the people, like a salary, and then put in his pocket or used for something else rather than giving to the public. So, and also he had a very good relationship with the India and the kings and queens of India at the time. So in order to make the in-laws happy, so he brought in this Bikram Sambat calendar from that time in 1903. So he imposed, take out the Nepal Sambat, and this became the calendar of official calendar of Nepal government. So from that time all the way up to, so now we are talking about a little bit of mathematics here. The reason why I'm saying that is if we look at the, how the Nepal Sambat was calculated, there's also another reason why. One reason is to pay the debt of the whole people, and the other reason, the calendar used at the time has a 8, 8, and 0. So that 8, 8, and 0 year of that calendar used in that area at the time, the 8, 8 is not an auspicious time. So to replace the 888 and then vanish the 880, so started the new calendar. So people also argue in that way. So 880 is not auspicious. Let's not use the 880, but we use the Nepal Sambat 1. So that is also the argument we can find in history. So going back to this calendar, and then what happened actually in 1903 when Chandra Samser imposed that new calendar Bikram Sambata, and then all the way up to right now we have 1141. So if you take it out, the 1141, there was a century started in 1100 centuries. So 41 years ago. So at the time, the king of Nepal was Birendra. So Birendra was kind of a liberal king. And then until his time, the rules of, rule whatever is given in the constitution, that was kind of like a strictly, so because people were not allowed to assemble in one place because of the constitutional imposement. But King Birendra was very, very liberal. So he kind of gave a second amendment of the constitution, and the second amendment constitution, it was happened in 1099. So the next year was the 1100. So the 1100 started and we have a new celebration of the new century. So that's how it happened. And the king had given a second amendment to the constitution, and people have a right to assemble, but they are not supposed to talk about any kind of a political situation. But this 1100 was started at that year, and then people started coming out to the street and then asking for Happy New Year, Nu Daya Pintuna. So that was allowed. But even that big assembly was not given permission freely, but you would have to get some kind of a permission from the authorities at the time and then do the assembly. So this assembly was the beginning of the reimposing the Nepal Sambat. But even though the Nepal Sambat was already there, we use only secretly in a home and also for the rituals and everything, but officially it was not celebrated in a public area. So now in one of the prime minister, I think it was Manmohan Adhikari, during his prime ministership, even though after the kingship was still there, but somehow it was a little bit liberated one. So at the time, the government gazette, government official gazette recognized the Sankha Darsakwa who established the Nepal Sambat. He was recognized as the pioneer of Nepal. So that's how we call it Vibhuti. So Vibhuti is a pioneer person. So now the picture behind me, so he was recognized as the national hero of Nepal. So from that time, people started, talking about every year, today is the day today. So the end of the year, and then the next day, the beginning of the new year. So people started going in the street and also looking for, saying the Happy New Year, and the rally started, all these things happened. So until that time, in 1991, so it was inside the Nepal only. Now, in 1991, the movement of Happy New Year movement took out of Nepal and then spread out in other part of the world. So this is how the calendar started. So the full moon, and then the dark moon. So dark moon half and then full moon half. So that's how it is calculated. And somehow all the festivals, all the occasions, all the auspicious times, they are all based on the moon calendar. And somehow all the articles I found regarding this Nepal Sambat calendar, definitely is very useful to know all these things. One more thing I need to mention, that on the day of the new year, the Newar people also do some kind of a puja or the ritual. That puja or ritual is called the Mahapuja. So when the Mahapuja is done to celebrate the new year, but that Mahapuja was still used before the new year started. So that means Mahapuja is very, very auspicious for the Newar people. And then when the Mahapuja is done, what happened actually, it is also a day of closing the fiscal year. So the day before, that means today is the Lakshmi Puja. So Lakshmi Puja means today is the dark moon day. Tomorrow it will be the first moon day. So that means today is the national calendar or the national fiscal year. So according to the government at the time, before Chandra Samshe brought in the new calendar, all the kinds of physical the business used to be closed today, and then it will be keep on hold for next 2 days until New Year celebration is not completed. So that's how the Newar people do the Mahapuja and also to celebrate the New Year. So during the Mahapuja, what we do actually, we make a mandala. So the mandala of the different kind of, the first is a water circle, and then inside there is a powder. So that powder, sometimes you may have seen that Prajwal using the drawing, like all some of the drawing. So use that powder, we call it potai. So that potai is like a sand powder. So sand powder, draw a picture of 8 different petals of the circle. And then inside that sand powder circle, so we make another circle and another circle and another circle. There has to be 5 different kinds of circles that represents the universe, and that represents the solar system. All these things were kind of like discussed in a paper, one of the papers written by so many scholars. So I have discovered that these mandala, and then at the very end, very middle, there has to be a circle, or the mandala is made out of the oil. So the oil, and then in the center part, there's a dot. So that dot is also with the oil. And then that dot is considered our soul, or our chitta, or our mind, or whatever you call it. So that's our soul. So if soul is more common to understand, then we do our own body, we do our own soul ritual in that mandala. So we dedicate by breaking into the pieces of flour into 5 pieces. So that 5 pieces represents the 5 elements. And then we do the small ritual and we put in the mandala, and that represents that our body is like a mind is taken out, or the soul is taken out from the body and put in the mandala, and we do the puja in that mandala. So this tradition we still doing every year, and even at my home. So I'm doing tomorrow. Smelly, you may have noticed that Prajwal was doing the New Year puja, and all the people were gathered in a Niti Mandala Mahavihara temple. You have seen that many times. So this is the reason that we celebrate the New Year by doing the puja to the own self and also to the own soul, and to expect for the goodness for the whole year. And then that's why this tradition is very, very unique in the Newar culture and also for the Nepalese traditions. I would like to further say all these references what I found. So when we make a mandala, and one of the book what I found is we make a Vajra Dhatu Bhuvana Mandala, Puspa Tara Mandala, Dharma Chakra Mandala, Arya Tara Mandala, Yamaloko Bhuvana, Matrika Bhuvana, Akanista Bhuvana, Vajramaya Bhuvana. These are the name of the mandala. So this name of the mandala and also drawing is made out of the sand powder, and also let's see what we have here. So paddy and rice, brown rice, and then the beans, black beans, and then black lentil and brown rice, and then the oil, and then at the middle is a piece of like a dot from the oil. So this is how mandala is represented by using the symbolic objects. So symbolic objects. So during this New Year time, and there are some auspicious, there are some special kind of objects are needed. For example, like in flower, we need to have a marigold flower. So the why marigold flower is needed for this kind of a ritual, because marigold flower never get never get wilt, right? So it's a fresh, but it becomes dry, but it still looks like a fresh. So it never gets kind of a well like other flowers, because other flowers kind of damages, but marigold never go bad. So that's why this needs to be, when we do the ritual in our body, in our soul, that our blessings should be good forever, good for the whole year. So that's why we use the marigold flower. I also found another flower, but I don't know how it is called in English language. We call the gueswa. So gueswa is also used in this particular ritual. So without gueswa, we cannot just continue the ritual. But here in the United States, I went to look for this gueswa in the market footplace, because these days because of the rainy season, I could not find in anywhere in So gueswa looks like a small, tiny. I have no idea how to explain that, but because I don't have any picture to show you. This gueswa is very, very important, and also we need to have that gueswa to put in our head. So it's offering to the mandala. So definitely these are things like very important for our tradition, and there are many materials is available in order to go into the remembering that New Year festival. So definitely, let's see, where's the government recognition? There are some political issue to recognize this Nepal sambat, and also so people are still making the voice that the government should recognize this calendar, replacing the one it is being used right now. So right now, what we use is the Bikram Samvata, and Bikram Samvat is imported from India, but it starts in April. But now, the name of the calendar, what we are saying, 1142, starting from tomorrow, we call the Nepal Samvata. So the Nepal, the country name by itself is attached with the calendar, whereas in the other one, Bikram Samvat, what is being used by the government right now, so that one has a name Bikrama. So Bikrama is the king of some places in India. That's what he started using it, and the Prime Minister Chandra Samsit brought it into Nepal to save the 1 month salary of the people. Instead of paying for 13 months, to pay the 12 months. That's how he brought it in, and then somehow it is being still used in government offices as an official calendar, but the Nepal Samvat has not been replaced with this. But now, because the Nepal Samvata, let me show you some of there are some, some names. The names of the month is kind of like a unique. So for example, I would like to say, today is the Kaula, and tomorrow it becomes Kasala. So Kasala, Basala, Tasala, Shila, Puela, Chilla. All the months, the name of the month comes with the La and La and La and La. So La means month in our language. So because this calendar is used by the Newar people, and the name of the month of the calendar is also comes with the La. but the names before the La, these are all came from Sanskrit. But because the Newar people are kind of saving this calendar for the civilization, for the identity, and for the culture, and for all kinds of activities, without using this Nepal Sambat calendar, no other any kind of incidents or no any kind of festivals are being celebrated. So that's why Newar people are preserving this calendar, but the other people are saying that this is not a calendar of Nepal, but it's the calendar of Newar people. So if it is the calendar of Newar people, why the name Nepal is included with this? If the name is included with the Nepal, then it has to be a calendar of the whole nation, whole people of Nepal. So there's a controversy. It hasn't been solved yet. Official recognition of Nepal era is demanded. So it was like some kind of the voice is still kind of bringing up to be get recognized by the government. So it's still going on. There are lots of materials we can find in history. So all the things going on. So definitely in a brief way. So this is what it, and then I would like to wish you all the very happy New Year according to the Nepal Sambat calendar. So tomorrow it is going to be 1142. Definitely the year 1142. We all stay away from Corona, and we will have all the free and then the enjoyable life. Hopefully we don't have to do any kind of a gathering in Zoom. I hope the 1142 will be our auspicious time to stay away from Corona and do our regular life as it was, we used to do it in the past. So is there any question? I keep that in next 15 minutes for the question. If you have anyone, I'll be happy to answer that. I'm going to stop the sharing right now. Then we will discuss on that. Prasad, I'm going to stop sharing. Okay?
That's great. Thank you, Daya. It's so insight about the Newar tradition, Newar culture, Newar tradition. It's all what you need. It's like a never-ending part of the Newar culture. So thank you for expressing even the calendars, even the mandalas. All different things is a part of Newar. And Newar been there for centuries and centuries. If you follow the history of the Newar tradition, that's been the thousands and thousands, and I don't know when it is started. But anyhow, it is great, wonderful to have the Daya to speak on that. So it is great. So we'll open the floor for everybody. Anybody have a question? So please ask any question. So
we can unmute everybody, no problem. I think we can.
Yeah. If you're speaking one person, you can unmute too. So
yeah. So I started, digging out all this information. So, when I was aware of why it is happening, and then we need to stop, kind of like proposing to, make recognition. So, but definitely we celebrate, we have just like a celebration of Christmas, a celebration of, it's a huge, festival of light. When you happen to be in Nepal today or tomorrow, and the next 3 days, you feel like you are in heaven. I get it. You said that.
Yeah. Okay, unmute.
Yeah, good to see you. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to make a comment before my question.
Okay.
Because I really could get a sense of it. This is such a powerful holiday, and it's very it's a very big deal, and I can feel it when you talk about it, and the history, the sense of history that it represents. I wanted to ask you about the two things, actually. The 10 years that you mentioned from 1950 to 1960, when this calendar was actually in use. I want to ask you about that, but I also want to ask about the history of how far it went out and how many people used it. And that ancient history is so profound that there's so much to be proud of that I'm really impressed. So I really just want to know what that 10 years was like, and how big of a deal this is, really, and what it represents. It seems to represent something really important.
So my answer for that one is because in 1903 it was replaced. The Nepal Sambat was officially replaced by another calendar, that is Bikram Sambat, and which is celebrated at the middle of April. So the people who are using that Nepal's Bikram Sambat calendar, which starts in April, and they started calling that as a Nepali New Year. Whereas this calendar carry the name Nepal, and why not we call this one is a Nepali New Year and then other one is Bikram Sambat New Year. So there's an argument. So it's not easy to come into conclusion that okay, I will agree with you, and then I cannot say that okay, I will agree with you. So there's a controversy to use because the openly celebration outside the public area, it started from 1100 started. So 41 years ago, actually 41 years ago, when it started the new century, like 1100, 1101, 1102. So because the constitution given a permission to assemble in one place. Before that, there was no permission. There was not allowed to assemble in a big place. So from that time, it was a cultural revolution, not a political revolution, but it came out as a cultural revolution to express the Nudaya Pintuna. That's what we call Happy New Year. And then nobody kind of bothered to protect deny that no, they are just saying that these people are just expressing the New Year fest, New Year greetings. There is no political thing, all these things. So that's why it was made kind of an easy way for the government to let them start with celebrating New Year. So from that time, this movement has taken place in a different route, and that different route is like a change of the whole government. In 2008, even the king system is abolished. So because of the people's power, I'm saying that from, because it is being recorded, it is being live. So somebody from Nepal is listening that Daya from America is saying that all these things. So I think I can say that over here. So it is protected from 1100. It was until 1903. Nobody can talk about this. And then when they started in 1100 started, then we started talking about this calendar. Now this calendar has become very popular, not only among the Newar people, and also the other people also started saying that when we do the Tihar, means the festival of light, Mahapuja, and then the Nepal Sambat, Pintuna, all these things coming up in a public way, not only within the Newars only.
There's also Newar apps right now, Newar Sambat apps. So if you need to know more about the Newar Sambat, there is apps you can download online. So you can have it. That's also.
So my way of saying this, instead of starting saying Newar Sambat or Nepal Newar calendar or Nepal, so
Nepal
we need
Sambat,
to start making it like a Nepal Sambat.
Yeah.
Sambat is the calendar, is the era. So if you translate the Sambat into English language, that becomes ERA, era. Era is the new way of life, new thing, something which changes. So this is like sometimes maybe it is a political scenario, but cultural revolution in our traditions. Yeah. Too many things to discuss, but I have only 45 minutes. That's it. I try to condense as much as. Go ahead, Ravindraman.
First of all, thank you very much, Daya, for your brilliant presentation. But there are some missing information when you did the presentation. For example, the time of the era you didn't mention. It must be a Lichavi era. You forgot.
Yeah, that's the historical part. Yes.
Lichavi era. And the king's name you didn't mention. King's name was Raghav Dev.
Yes.
King Raghav Dev.
Yes.
And there is some kind of ongoing controversy.
Yep.
In the thing that it was the king who promulgated Nepal Sambat, or it was the merchant Sankhadar Sakha who did it. If he did, he must have done with the consent of the king, because nothing is possible at that time without the consent of the king. There is, so one question is Raghav Dev who promulgated the Nepal Sambat, or it is Sankhadar Sakha, who with the consent of the king uh, launched the Nepal Sambat. What do you think about that? First thing is that, and the second part of my question is that some kind of recognition, the government has recognized Nepal Sambat as the national Sambat along with other Sambats like Losar, any other. What kind of recognition this national? They have recognized our Nepal Sambat as a national Sambat. What kind of recognition is that? Because it all is theoretically. In practical scenario, we are not seeing any kind of, Nepal Sambat is not used officially anywhere. So would you like to throw light on the nature of the government recognition that Nepal Sambat has already been recognized as a national Sambat of Nepal? What kind of recognition is this when we don't see anything, practically nothing is used? These are my 2 points.
Okay, so the question about the king at the time, yes, Raghava Deva was the king of the time. So king sent porters to bring the sand from the river, and then he lost the game because the sand did not go to the palace, but the palace, the merchant bought the sand, and since it is being already purchased and that doesn't belong to the palace, and somehow by magical way, so the sand turned into gold, and then that gold doesn't belong to the king because the sand was already purchased from the porter. But because of the kind-hearted mind of that merchant, Sankadhara, so he wanted to contribute to the public, the debt-free. So he, without having any consent from the palace, from the king, and nothing can be done in Nepal at the time. So that means King Raghava Deva permitted Sankadhar to establish a new calendar, and that new calendar is the Nepal Sambat calendar. So the king has to give, whenever we see the calendar name is given, Sankadhara Krita Nepala Sambata. So that's how we find the inscription almost everywhere. And that Sambat is used not only in Nepal and also used for doing the business with the Tibet and also with the China at the time. So it became an international calendar at the time. But the other calendar, when you do the business with the India, and there's another calendar, that calendar is called the Shaks calendar. And that Shaks Sambat calendar is a different calendar used for the southern business. And for the northern business, Nepal Sambat was used at the time. So from that end, so yes, definitely Raghav Deva was the king, and king consented to use the Nepal Sambat as the official calendar from that time. And then for the second question, it is being recognized as the national calendar. But just like if we ask Nepal government to recognize Prajol as the national hero, Nepal government will do that. But only for what? It's just for the one type of government recognize that. But when the government change and the other government comes, for example, we have a government change in 2020, we have a different government, and then from 2020 January 6, we have a different government. So same way, one government recognized this as the national calendar of Nepal, and then the imposer of Nepal Sambat calendar, Sanghadhar Sakwa, was recognized as the national hero. But in practice, it has not been done yet. So only for the namesake, it is the national calendar, but for the practice, still use the Bikram Sambat calendar that is being used as a new year in April. And then the other people are using as a Nepali New Year. But we are demanding that this calendar should be Nepali New Year, not the other one should be the Nepali New Year. And there's a controversy. It's ongoing from 1100 and until now, 41 years, still fighting to get recognized for this calendar as a national calendar of Nepal. But somehow the name has not been changed yet, because all the activities done by the Newar people, and then other people kind of saying that, hey, this is the Newar calendar, it's not a Nepalese calendar. But I say, why this calendar is not called like a Newar Sambat? it is called the Nepal Samba. When the name Nepal is come together with the calendar, and definitely this belongs to Nepal people. So when it is a Nepal people, it's a Nepalese calendar. This is my argument. So yes, it is being recognized, but not in a practice way, because even when 10 years ago from now, so the prime minister of Nepal at the time, okay, from today, he said that I'm going to use Nepal Samba in my letterhead, but he used the letterhead, but never put into practice. Now that kind of recognition we got from Nepal government. That's it. Thank you for your question. Anybody else wants to make sure clear?
But at least, you know, it's recognized right now is in the Kathmandu Valley. They have schools. You have to study the Nepal Bhasa in the Kathmandu Valley. The mayor of the Kathmandu Valley, they made it that a statement. So they have a teacher been trained to be teaching the Newar language in every schools in the Kathmandu Valley. That is the achievement right now. I can say that. So
Linda is here too. Good to see you, Linda.
Oh, namaste.
Namaste, Josolopa.
Jodolapa, thank you so much for your talk. It was really
Well, maybe some other time we will talk about how the Nepal Bhasa is being recognized in the local language, local area these days. So because of the current situation after the new constitution being promulgated in 2015, the big changes coming, big changes already happening right now. So I'm teaching online classes, and in Nepal, 172 teachers were already recruited to teach Nepal language in schools. And it is mandatory within the municipality of Kathmandu to teach the Nepal language. If they want to run the school, you got to teach it. If you don't want to teach the Nepal language, the school will be, not recognized. So that is a movement is coming. So this movement came from the movement of Nepal Samba, which is a good sign.
Yes.
So now, and from as a activities of WNO, so we have a master plan to establish WNO online university.
Good.
We have a master plan to everything can be studied based on our language. So science, mathematics, geography, philosophy, physics, anything, biology, geology, computer science, everything we are trying to convert into Newar language, but still, along with the English language, but it will be based on the mother tongue of the Newar people so that they can learn faster. You don't need to learn many languages to, go further. So it is coming up. So as a part of my activities, I'm calling myself as a Newar activist. We are fighting to get the recognition. It might be a political way to say that. Sorry, Prozul will be not allow me to talk about these things.
oh, it's okay. Yeah, only things like it. I was talking to a couple of peoples about who's Pansanga committee who create the calendars of Newar people. So there's hardly only you cannot even a few people go to the Pansanga committee from the as Newar people. There's hardly anybody who knows about astrology, talk about astrology as Newar. That's the problems I hear from the other people. So we don't have that much people who's really, ground to earth, a ground to making that this is the astrology, this is the mathematics, this is the happening. You have to make it this Newar calendar this way. So there's only one or two people's really strong, but they have more people's in the other side. It's more strong. So that's why they take away everything in the Pansanga community. There's hardly any Newar peoples in the Pansanga community.
So just about a month and a half ago, I have interviewed one woman in astrologer, Jyotishi, Rati Devi. So she was my classmate when I was studying, a master's program in Newar language. And then somehow we met in the Facebook, and then she became friend again. So I interviewed her. She's doing the professional, astrologer. So she mentioned to me all kinds of activities, what is going on. And then she explained, which I was not clear about at the time.
Okay.
So if you happen to look at the WNO Facebook page, Rati Devi Joshi, was the person I interviewed. She's still doing the astrological professionalism. So she does all kinds of good things so to make a decision. So getting married, you have to talk to her. And then she also told me that you have to make one astrologer chart for every single person. So even though you don't have one, based on your birth, based on your year of the birth, based on your month of the birth, she can draw a picture of your life.
Yeah.
So it is very possible to create an astrological chart. We call it jata. So jata is an astrological chart. Every single person born in our tradition, we must have a baby as jata. That jata is based on the how the future of the child, or how she or he is going to be in the future. So these can be determined by the astrological plan. So I would like to mention that my name is Daya, Daya, right? And that name is not given by mom or dad. It was given by astrologer. The reason why it was given by astrologer, because I was born on the 12th day of after the New Year. Let's see, 12th day, Ekadashi, 11th day of the New Year. So on that day, it has to be a da, da, di, do. There are the four sounds, da, da, di, do. So da, da, di, do is the astrological calculation of the name supposed to be being out from that, seed of that, sound. So astrologer given the name Daya. Daya means kindness in Sanskrit. So I feel kind to everybody, even though I see somebody who is homeless. So I feel like let's go and forward and give something to them. So that's how I feel. So it's very real. So astrological calculation is never become fake. So it has to be determined. But sometimes people don't like the name given by the astrologer and they change into a different way. I have no idea whether the name Prajol, do you know why the name Prajol? Prajol means the illumination.
Like
when you lit the candle or the light, so slowly it illuminates, right? That's called Prajol.
But my
so he is illuminating the dharma, the Buddha dharma in the Western world, and how much Tina is getting from him is the illumination of the dharma, right? So that's what the Prajol is.
Yeah, my astrological name is completely different. I'm from the Nepal. Oh.
Daya,
yes.
I was wondering, and I don't know if you have the understanding of it. What's the difference between Anahla and Nalanla, the intercalary? The reduced month.
Anahla is the newer term for the additional month.
Oh, okay. So
additional months, because every 3 years we have a 1 month extra. That 1 month extra is called the Anala, or in other language called the additional month.
So not la.
Yeah, la is the month.
Of course. La is
Anala became the newer word, but it came to Anya la. Anya la became the Anala.
Oh, so they're the same.
Yeah, Anyala became the Anala in the local, colloquial way. So.
Okay, so they're the same month.
Yeah, same one. So.
Okay.
Anala is the additional 13th month, month of the calendar.
And how many days are in the intercalary month?
Supposed to be from the dark moon, first day of the dark moon to the full moon, and from the full moon to the dark moon supposed to be 30 days. But sometimes it turned into 14 days or sometimes 13 days. So probably 29 or 28. So not exactly.
Okay, so it depends on the calibration of the new moon and the first moon. The dark moon and the full.
When I talked to the astrologer, when I was interviewing the astrologer, at that time she mentioned that the rise of the sun and then the movement of earth and moon, so they never come along according to the calculation. It always changes.
Right.
So because right now, even though these days, when you look at the TV, what they say, today's sunrise is 7:05 and tomorrow is 7:03. And the day after tomorrow, maybe 7 or 10, or maybe 6 o'clock, 6:05 in summertime. So the changes of the moon and the changes of the sunrise timing, so it makes a difference on the whether 30 days or the 31 days. Or
it also has to do with the minutes and the seconds. Yes. and the degrees, because it all adds up with the moon and the sun and the earth. All interact. Okay. Okay.
So December 22nd is the shortest day, shortest
Right.
night for us, right? And then the June
Solstice.
22nd is the longest day of the whole year. Huh? So that's
Right.
what
Solstice.
calculated.
Solstice and solstice. Right.
Yeah. So these are based on the Western astronomical but in the Eastern side, so they based everything on moon.
Right, because it's
Movement of
lunar
lunar
calendar,
calendar.
not lunisolar or solar. It's lunar calendar. Okay.
Right, lunar calendar. So I mean, if we don't have a moon and sun, how are we going to survive, right?
Not at all.
Not at all.
Right. And the
So
calculation.
this calendar is based on the lunar calendar. That's why it's called a lunar calendar, based on the moon rise and moon set. And,
Right.
full moon, and then
And there's a cycle that's called the Metanomic Cycle in English. I don't know the calculation of that. I don't know how that would be in Jyotish, but there's a cycle of how many years where it goes back to it. And then there's a cycle of 60 years and so on. So
astrologer have the already calculation. So that calculation never failed, because the 2 + 2 never become 3.
Right.
Always a universal truth that 4, right?
Right.
So same way, their calculation is always truth. And then sometimes people mislead and they misread. So that's why we get the wrong information, sir.
Right. It's because the minutes and the seconds and the degrees are always off.
Yeah.
And
And
that
then
also
in an ancient time, there was no photocopy, there was no cell phone, there was no like a camera, and then nothing. So which is being only passed on by verbal, by mouth only, right?
And even the charts were calibrated, were shifted.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when I started going, study education, the first letter I was taught is a one Namo Bagi Soraye, and I use that in a like a wood plate, and then smear with the red soil. I don't know how, red clay. So smear on the top and then write by the chalk. So that's how I started.
Oh my, that's so far back. Yeah.
Yeah, far back. So not too far back, maybe 60 years back, and that's all.
No, I mean what's done now. It's okay, but yeah, no, it's not taught that way much anymore. I do have a question, because a lot of Western students will ask or have a question about it. The Ayanamsha. I don't know if you're familiar with Ayanamsha of the Western astrology sign, the equivalents versus the Vedic or the Nepal, the Nepal signs. Yeah. And they're the same, but they're not, because it's shifted, because ours moves, the Western moves, because it's not fixed. Yeah. And the Nepal is fixed. Is that is there in the near future a way to calibrate that with the Western? Not that it's needed, because it's only relative to Western students, but if Western students would want to learn, how would the Ayanamsha be calculated?
Oh, you gave me a big topic to study again. So I have no idea how to answer that question, because what I think, so when I came to United States, and everything's kind of like 11 hours and 45-minute difference from the Nepal where I'm right now.
Yeah.
So this time difference, this weekend we are going to change the time, right?
Right. Yes, 1 hour
backward.
Right.
So the fall will be backward. I was shocked when I hear that. This US government has a power to change the time.
One of the things when you hear in the States, yeah, when you
Who did that? Why can't we let it? Why can't we let it just stay like this?
But no, of course. But the Ayanamsha meaning, of course, I know you're making a joke, but Ayanamsha meaning, there's so many Ayanamshas right now. Which one's which? So
can you write the word in a chat box so that I can?
Sure. It's of course Sanskrit, but it's let's see.
Please go ahead and write in a chat box. I will copy and then look for it in my.
It will be a one of two because it's Sanskrit into English lettering.
Okay, ayo, namangsa,
And
then
let me make
ayo,
sure. It's the same, but the shakaram versus sakar.
I will look into Sanskrit dictionary and then figure out. Then I will have an answer for next time.
Yes, of course. It's used in when Western students learn Vedic or Vedic oriented astrology, and of course, Nepal sambat is a whole different field of calibration. But it's I mean, okay, yeah. So it's because our Western astrology is tropical
Okay.
because it's always shifting according to there's a procession of the constellations,
Right.
and we don't have nakshatram. So if we don't have nakshatram, we're always shifting.
So no nakshatra in your study of
In Western. No Western. I mean, Western doesn't have nakshatram.
Oh, I see.
We only learn nakshatra when we go into Vedic astrology.
Vedic astrology only. Okay, this is something new. I never knew that before. So
Yeah, the Western astrology has a different set of coordinates, but there's something comparable, but not. And it's yeah. So
it's very different because everything is opposite here. So
yeah, of course.
opposite.
So
Night
the only way to
becomes
learn
day
is
becomes.
right. So
I'm not the expert. I'm not the expert in the astrology, but I'm expert in the languages and linguistics. That's my area. Linguistics is my area. But sometimes the astrological words and the linguistic, we can kind of like analyze how it came into. And then we have in our language 60% of the Sanskrit language, Sanskrit vocabulary already digested in our language. But these days we don't know. So the word guru, guruji, right? Guruji, gurju, we call gurju. Gurju is from Sanskrit. Any word you find in our language, it has a Sanskrit, like a etymology. So, but we don't know exactly whether it is from Sanskrit because Sanskrit, Latin, and Greek, these are three siblings. Any word you find in a Latin, any word you find in Greek, any word you find in a Sanskrit, there is some kind of similarity. It is true. So astronomy is not my field, but linguistically, yes, there are so many similarities in the Western side, also in the Eastern side. So. Okay, so I will dig into more information. The question you have asked on the iron Namangsa. So definitely I will learn some on that. Thank you very much for asking.
Yes, and Josh was bringing up that there are lunar mansions, but yes, the lunar mansions is something that that's a whole different thanks Josh, by the way. But the way that Indian astrology treats it is different. So I mean sometimes maybe yes.
So Prajwal is going to share later on, maybe in his Facebook, what is happening right now. We will have lots of a live program is going on the celebration of New Year, and we will share. Prajwal will also share in his Facebook so that you can watch enjoy the festivity of celebration of New Year in Nepal. So. And then we are also celebrating New Year's. So definitely, we also part of that celebration right now. So thank you for coming. So. Anything to say?
Thank you very much. I just want to be announced a little bit tomorrow. Also, we have a start tomorrow, Friday. Start one of the Rajendra Man Bajracharya giving a speech on the Biharas, how important of Bihara, how the Bihara has been established, how the Bihara has been, what is the importance of Bihara. It will be 7 o'clock tomorrow in the Pacific time. So, and then we have a Saturday with the Helen's and world Buddhist importance of the world dance. Dancing is important in the world of dancing. Dancing is important in the world. Something that Joseph, who's giving the wonderful talk, he's also written many articles on the Charya as well. He's also the really famous dancers back in old days. So he's giving talk, and then after same times we have after 15 minutes we have also the Helen and Mayo will be interview. Mayo and Helen is the creator of this Bihara in the temples. So that's 12 years before. So that was be monitor of the interviews with the Korean Nakamura, who is one of the board member. So she's going to do that's tomorrow 5 o'clock 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. So it's 2 hours sections tomorrow. And then we have also the on the Sunday, which will be, we are Sunday, we have a Mirinda Saw will be the interviewing with the volunteers and pujaris and the dancers. So if anybody's want to be part of that, so please join. That will be happening on a Sunday, 10 o'clock in the morning. And the Monday we have a Subha Sakes is giving talk on the presentations on the being alive. So he is the one, like I know him from, so we are moving in the same times in from Kathmandu to here in America. And so he will be giving his experience being in a Bihara, and his life is, moving forward with the Bihara. That will be happening in a Monday. That's also 7 o'clock in the night. So, and then we will have a preparations on the Tuesday. So then Wednesday will be all day, all day, and we'll have a lunch break. Then we have also the evening start from 5 o'clock. So just leave in a calendar. It's already updated in the webpage, both webpages. We have a portlandbaha.org and dancemandala.com. That's a two-way page been updated. So that's we are celebrating this 12-year anniversary, and with very elaborate celebrations. For that, if you are vaccinated, you can join in our temple also. So I just want to let you know that please join. All the free links, it's under my webpage. And also we have sent emails out to the world. So if you don't get the emails, please check my webpage, both webpages, dancemandala.com or portlandbaha.org. That's our page. And thank you for joining. I'm going to stop.
Last minute, I would like to emphasize that tomorrow's speaker, Rajendraman Bajracharya, he is the top one in traditional Mahayana Buddhism. So he has been running the 200 episodes, more than 200 episodes of the television talk. He's a well-known. He can talk about anything about the Buddhism of Newar Buddhism. So we interviewed him about I think a month ago. So because I never met him, but his interview was wonderful. It's still available in WNO Facebook. So after that, I saw that he was one of the top, learned scholar of Newar Buddhism. Thank you. That's all. Please don't miss tomorrow. What you need, you will get it tomorrow.
Yeah, I know. I growing up with him, and he's my brother, so I know him from growing up, and his brother is my classmate as well. So I know him from a long time. So that will be great. So yeah, do not miss. So, and thank you once more again, Daya. It is wonderful giving you the insight of the Newar tradition, Newar culture, Newar language, Newar astrologically part also. So it is really important for people to know how Newar, beings in Nepal. It's been like a tiny little country, but we have such amazing, vast traditions that we have. So thank you very much for the day. So I'm going to stop with the sharing right now, and we can just verbally talk Facebook, and also stop recording.